Welcome to Thank You for Your Service in Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. My name is Tom Heiser, and I will be your host today. Today we're on the road. We're at American Heroes Cafe, Central Wisconsin, which is located at Crossview Church in the Shopko Mall, located between Shopko and Cops. Okay, let me introduce our special guests today. We have Rhonda Jackin, Kathy Colo, Ron Clark, Bill Hack, Donna Hack, Judy and Ray Manji, Helen Casey Brazo, and Senior Pastor Dan DeRoshi. What we're going to be doing today is talking about the history of the Heroes Cafe. And I'd like to start with Pastor Dan DeRoshi. I want to thank you and Crossview Church for hosting the Heroes Cafe.
It's our honor and pleasure to do so.
How did you get involved with the Heroes Cafe?
Well, that's a really good question, Tom. Bill came and talked to us and said they'd really enjoy having the cafe here. And one thing I love about our church is we're very veteran friendly. We have a lot of veterans who attend. We have even the people who aren't veterans really support veterans and their causes. And so it seemed to be a great fit with who we are as a church. And we were really excited to have it offered to have it here. And so to open our doors to Heroes Cafe was just a natural thing for our church. And we're just really, really pleased that it's here.
And we appreciate it. You mentioned you're veteran friendly. You're an Air Force veteran.
Yes, I am. I was in the Air Force for 6 years and served in Operation Desert Storm.
So you are a veteran of Operation Desert Storm with the Air Force. Tell us a little bit about your job.
I was what was called an aerospace ground equipment mechanic, and I was stationed with the 126 Air Refueling Wing, which is the aerial refuelers, KC-135 Stratotankers, and so I worked on the aircraft that refueled other planes in air, and basically worked with the startup equipment in the aircraft, so the starting up the jet engines, the generators, those kinds of things. That was kind of my job when I was in there for 6 years.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to talk to some of the volunteers that we have here and just get a little background. And we'll start with Helen down on the end, as long as the microphone is down there and the camera is there. How did you get involved with the Heroes Cafe?
Well, I was playing cribbage with Bill at the center, and he talked about it, and it sounded like a really good thing. And I had 4 brothers who were in service, so it was payback.
Okay. And how long have you been volunteering with the Heroes?
Since the very beginning.
Enjoyable?
Oh, I love it. We started out with just a handful, and now we have close to 100 every time, and it's very rewarding.
Okay, and you like it, and
Oh, I love it, yeah.
good. Thank you very much for your service to the Heroes Cafe. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me be part of it.
No problem. Okay, Ray, pretty much the same questions. How did you get involved with the Heroes Cafe?
My wife got involved with Bill Heck, and he asked me if I can volunteer too, so I tell her I will. So we start from the beginning, and I'm in charge of the people signing every time and keep, that way I have a control how many access they have every week.
Okay, you've been volunteering since day one, pretty much, haven't you? It's interesting when he's by the front door.
I enjoy do my job of volunteering.
Okay, when he's at the front door, if you don't sign in, he will follow you all the way through the... Okay, thank you very much for your helping out with us, too. We really appreciate it. Judy, hello, you're the greeter.
Yes, some might call me the doormat, but I am the greeter.
How long have you been, how did you get involved with...
Well, one day I was reading the local paper and was on the front page this article about Bill Hack going to businesses and seeking support for an American Heroes Cafe, talked about what it was all about, and I thought, that is tremendous. It gave his phone number to call at the end of the article. I called him and met with him, and we signed on from the very beginning. and it has been such a joy. It's truly a joy.
Okay, when I say you're the greeter, you're the one that the veterans and everybody sees first coming in here.
Yeah.
And you're always available for a hug.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love those hugs.
Okay. Interesting people that you met some new friends?
Well, there's been the police officers that come. And that's especially, we're especially glad to see them. The dignitaries, the mayor and so on. But it's the guys, it's just the veterans that come every week. You feel such a love and a thankfulness for them, and being here at Crossview has been an added blessing.
Well, thank you. It's very nice when we walk in and there's that big smile of yours and welcoming everybody. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Donna, I got a feeling I know how you got involved in this.
Well, since my husband and I, when we lived in, before we moved here to Nakusa, we were in Kenosha, and at a Super Value grocery store there was a little cubicle there that had something for the veterans, and we really didn't know what it was until Bill checked in on it and found out when the lady was there on a Friday so he could ask her, and found out that it was a Heroes Cafe. And she was talking to him about it, and he thought that that would be a great idea when we moved up here, that he would get involved with that. So he did, and when we got here, he was looking for a part-time job, but then he thought about the Heroes Cafe again, and he decided that this is what he was going to do. So he got very busy with writing letters to every business that he could think of, to schools, to restaurants, to anything for support, and tried to find a place, but then the people at the Lowell Center said that we could use their area, and hence the beginning of the Heroes Cafe. And I think that the veterans around here really needed this, because a lot of them, I think, this is the only chance that they get to come and visit with other veterans and talk with each other and visit. So I think it's good for them.
Well, thank you very much. And you are also a veteran.
Yes, I am. I was in the Army for 2 years, and I went to basic training at Fort McClellan, Alabama, and then I was transferred to Texas. Texas, Fort Sam Houston. And then I went to Fitzsimmons General Hospital, and then I was there, and that's after that in Denver, Colorado, and then after that I got out.
Okay, thank you very much for your service. We're going to skip Mr. Hack because he's going to be rather talkative towards the end, which I know is rather shocking to everybody. Ron Clark, how did you get involved with the Heroes Cafe and going from a guest to helping out?
Well, I volunteered, and if there's one thing you learn in the military, you don't ever volunteer. But I figured, need some help. I could tell that he needed more help and needed somebody that could take over when he had to go on vacation or something like that. And so then I guess I volunteered, and here I am.
So you get up early on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I get up about 4:30, and then I'm usually here about 5:30. Usually Bill beats me here, and takes a while to get things rolling, get the coffee set up, make sure that it's ready when the guys come in, and some of them come in kind of early, so we're ready.
Okay, any interesting stories from the Heroes Cafe that you can share with us?
Well, I guess interesting for me is when I got my father-in-law involved. He's a World War II veteran, and his wife had passed away. My mother-in-law passed away last July, and he just needed something to do. And so I, come on down. We were at the Lowell Center at the time, and he said, sure, I'll give it a shot. And, well, he's been coming ever since. But then in November, he fell down putting up Christmas tree lights and fractured his pelvis and smashed his elbow all the heck. and he wasn't able to come for about 2 months. But as soon as he healed enough, I go pick him up, and now he's coming pretty regular, and that's the best thing about it. And then he learned about the honor flight, and he was able to go on the honor flight, and that really made his day. So that's what's interesting for me about it.
Okay. You're a Marine veteran, served in Vietnam. Can you tell us a little bit about your time in service?
Well, I went to boot camp in 1964 to MCRD, San Diego. I'm a Hollywood Marine. And then after boot camp was ITR, Infantry Training Regiment, and after that I was supposed to go to school for radio telephone operator. That was my MOS, communications. But I went to 29 Palms, California, and I served with the 11th Marines, Mike Battery, 4th Battalion, 11th Marines, and about that time Vietnam was going. It was in 1965. President Johnson called up a big contingent of Army, Marines, Seabees, Navy, and I was part of that, so I never did go to school. It was all on-the-job training in Vietnam for 13 months, and I left Vietnam without a scratch, except for a heat rash, and I won't tell you where that was.
That was in Chulai, right?
I was in Chulai and Da Nang, and when it gets hot over there, you think it's hot here or hot in the desert. Well, 130 degrees in the shade with humidity, that's hot. And then when I got out of Vietnam, I ended up going to headquarters, Company 6 Marines at Camp Lejeune for a year, and then I ended up at Norfolk, Virginia as a Naval Station Brig Guard. That was my last year, and I got out in 1968. And then I came back to Wisconsin Rapids and haven't left since.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. Kathy Colo, how long have you been involved in the Heroes Cafe?
I have been here since the very beginning. Bill and I grew up in the same neighborhood, and he was friends with my little bit older brother, and who lives in Racine, and I used to see Bill now and again when he come up to visit my brother from Kenosha. And so then when he decided to come back to live in Wisconsin Rapids, he stopped by a time or two for coffee. And then after he and Donna, found the place they wanted to live in, he gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to volunteer, and I said sure, and I've been here ever since. From the very beginning.
We appreciate you being here.
Well, it's nice. I mean, it's a good opportunity for the guys to get together and chat, and we have fun.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anything else you want to add?
Well, the one little thing, there's a gentleman, the elderly gentleman that comes in that I give him coffee, and he told me once that he was 99, and of course I didn't believe him because they kid a lot around here. But then a little bit later on during the breakfast, he really was 99 years old, and come to find out, my father was a blacksmith, and he has been gone for probably 45 years, and he used to work for this gentleman. And so it was kind of nice to learn about your family a little bit from somebody who really is 99 years old. No, never thought. But it's enjoyable. The guys enjoy it, and we enjoy it, and we have a nice group here, so it's good. It's all good.
Thank you very much. Rhonda, how did you get involved with the Heroes Cafe?
I was enlisted by my cousin Bill.
And how long have you been here?
I'm a newbie. I started November, right before they moved here.
Any interesting stories that you have about your time with the cafe?
I like it when the World War II vets, mostly it just reminds me of my father, who was well deserving of a legacy stone that Bill just had installed for him. The Quilts of Valor, I think, touched me the most when the guys talk, and it's amazing. It's amazing what they remember and knowing what they saw that we probably don't need to know.
Okay, so you enjoy your time here.
I do.
Okay, thank you. We've been joined by Kaylee Warmer.
Yes.
Kaylee, how long have you been involved with the Heroes Cafe?
Oh, I am really, really new. Only, I've only been here 3 times. And I met Bell at Cribbage Club, and he mentioned it. And my family was military. My dad served. My brother served. My son has served. And I thought this would be a good thing to do.
Okay, so kind of got involved through card playing.
Yes.
Apparently, Bill, you've met a few people playing cards and have enlisted them.
I played the little cards.
Any interesting things that you found in your short time here?
I think it's marvelous how these men get together and the camaraderie that they share. And you listen just a little bit, but they work with each other and they comfort each other probably, and they talk with each other and they share together. And it's a group of people who have a commonality that nobody else has. So it's really nice.
Thank you very much for volunteering and helping out. Okay, Bill Hack.
Yes, sir.
As the founder of the American Heroes Cafe, Central Wisconsin, how did you come up with this idea?
It wasn't an original idea. I lived in Kenosha. Like Donna said, we lived in Kenosha. I was working at the Naval Base for 30 years. And the Festival of Foods in Kenosha started out at Super Value, moved over to Festival of Foods, had a Heroes Cafe. There was 2 ladies involved with that, Mary Domes and Sharon Janis. And I always told them, I said, if I ever move back up north, which was in question for a while, I would like to start one of these up there. And lo and behold, we bought a camper. We moved up to Ponderosa Pines. And one day, me and Donna were sitting out there, and she said, I wouldn't mind moving back up here. So we did. December of 2014, we moved back up. And like Donna was telling you, I was looking for a part-time job after we got all settled in and everything. And then it dawned on me, well, the Heroes Cafe, that's an idea. So I approached Joan Kranig over at the Senior Center, and I told her about my idea for the Heroes Cafe. She thought it was a good idea. She took it up with the other supervisors at Lowell Center. I expected 30 or 40 vets a week, to come by. And we got started on September the 15th of 2015, September 23rd of 2015. And there was about 60 people. And then the next week it went down to about 40, and that's where I figured it would level off. And then ever since then it's picked up. And since we came over here, Pastor Dan opened up this room for us. We've averaged about 100 a week here. Since the 2nd of November, we've had 2,631 guests go through here in just this space. And that's how we got started.
You mentioned Festival Foods. They're becoming pretty active in this program, from what you've told us.
Yeah, Mary Domes and Sharon Janis, like I say, started the one in Super Value, and then when Festival of Foods bought out Super Value, they built a brand new store, and they turned the whole deli, the lounge above the deli, over to them. Then the general manager, this just recently happened in the last 5 or 6 months here. The new general manager for Festival of Foods has, I don't know if he's told all his bosses and everybody that every time they open up a Festival of Food in Wisconsin, there will be a Heroes Cafe associated with it. And right now, they have 5, and we're number 6, and we're trying to get this throughout the state. We're also the Elks Club is pretty much involved with this too. They want to start one up in Rice Lake, and I'm planning a trip up there to help them set one up. So,
I understand that you've been contacted by people from many states about the Heroes Cafe.
yeah, I have. Through a lot of it's through the organization. I used to arrange reunions for a ship I was on in Vietnam, and those guys heard about it, and they started talking to people, and I'm getting letters from here and there. And a little interesting story: when we first started out, I received a call from Piggly Wiggly in Nakusa. I was rounding up everything, trying to get ready for opening day, and trying to figure out where I was going to buy my coffee and all. And Piggly Wiggly called me up and he says, "Are you coming over to get your coffee?" And I said, "Well, yeah, what are you talking about?" Well, turns out that a friend of mine, his wife down in St. Peters, Missouri, heard about what we were doing, and they bought 24 cans of coffee to get us started. And that started everything. And then I've gotten other donations from other shipmates all over the country. I had a Elks Club in, I believe it was Wyoming, wrote me a letter about starting and what to do. Well, I'm not going to make a trip to Wyoming, but I'll help them out if they need some help, you know.
Deer season.
Pardon?
Deer season in Wyoming is.
DEAR or DEER?
Okay, so who can attend the cafe?
Well, obviously veterans, all veterans. And by the way, National Guard are veterans. A lot of them don't think they are, but they are. Reserves, active duty, police, any kind of law enforcement at all, lawyers even that work for the DA, and firefighters, EMTs, service personnel. I gotta tell you a little story about firefighters, if I may, and I know you're a volunteer fireman. I was wondering, you know, I get police officers in here quite frequently, but I never get any firemen in here. And I asked the chief when he was in here one day, "How do I get these firemen in here?" And he says, "Tell them you got recliners and flat screen TVs and they'll all be here."
Okay, so on a day that the cafe is open, what's your routine usually for that?
Well, Ron and I are usually here at 5:30 in the morning, making coffee. We like to do it early, get done, so that when the early guys come in, at least they can get coffee. Then we wait around till about, well, actually it takes about till maybe an hour, would you say? An hour to get set up. And then we kind of wait for the big 100-cup coffee pots to brew and watch the small one so we can get a cup of coffee. And then about 7:15, Judy rolls in with the donuts. We put the donuts in. And I've been having this couple, and I'm sorry, I just can't pick out their name right now, but they always bring in a bunch of cookies just about every week. Then the girls sort them out into different bags for the guys to take home. On the last Wednesday of each month, there's two ladies in Port Edwards that make up 4 dozen hard-boiled eggs for us, and the guys always take them and either chuck them down or take them home, make some egg salad. And then Grace's. I can't say enough about Grace's. Just about every week since we've moved over here, Grace's comes across the parking lot with scrambled eggs, sausage, bacon, pancakes, hash browns, and we have breakfast on those days. Now, when they're busy, of course, they can't, but they've been so supportive of us. It's tremendous what they do. And then we sit back, and me and Ron just kind of keep an eye on the coffee, and if it looks like we're running down, we'll make a pot, and we usually end up dumping that pot. Because, you know, we overpredict. Because once Grace's breakfast is done, the guys kind of filter out, and then we got a lot of coffee. So we make the girls drink it before they can go home.
You mentioned 7:15. What are the real hours of the...
8 to 11. 8 o'clock to 11. But I have, well, Will Smith, he's in here at 7:30. There's a couple others that are in here, 7:30. Whenever they come in, they're welcome. And I've never had anybody stay past 11, but hey, if they wanted to stay past 11, I'd sit around with them for a little while too.
And they could help clean up.
Yeah, there you go. Just like with our picnic that's coming up. I told them if they come early, it's going to be 10 to 2. I told them if they come early, I'll put them to work. So.
Okay. You've hosted 2 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients and a family member of another
Correct.
Medal of Honor recipient. What are the other events that you have at the Heroes Cafe?
Well, I've had Senator Tammy Baldwin's been there. Mayor's been there several times. A couple of the state senators have been here. Let's see, what else? Anybody think anything else that we... Quilts of Valor on 4 different occasions. We've arranged to have 48 different veterans get their quilt of valor from these ladies, the material girls that work out of the Cotton Thimble right here in town. The expo on November the 2nd that got us over here. Well, that was from 9 to 4, and then we got another one coming up August the 23rd. We're going to be here for that on 9 to 4. So we will be here, and I've got invitations out to both the lieutenant governor and the governor. I was contacted by the lieutenant governor's assistant and said that I'd actually invited the lieutenant governor first, and he wrote to me and he says, "Does that include the governor?" I said, "Of course it includes the governor, but he's busy with the budget right now, and plus Rebecca's a little bit prettier than he is anyway." So.
Okay, you're the service officer for the VFW.
Yes.
Have you run into incidences of veterans that needed assistance and you've directed them for help?
Quite a few as far as getting appointments at the VA. The CBOC here is pretty cooperative. Some of them have been having some troubles with TOMA, as evidenced in the news and everything else, but I've been able to arrange to get a few of them some appointments. Right now I'm working on one for myself, by the way. I'm getting a little run-in over there, but yeah, and there was one, and there was another lady who had lost her husband. He was 100% disabled, and she didn't know anything about disability indemnity compensation. So I got her started on that. Rock Larson's been very helpful. That whole office over there, him and Lita and Amanda, they're good. They take care of the people I send over right away.
So granted, 99% of what happens over here is fellowship, but yet there's also help available for...
Oh, absolutely. I try to get one of the service officers in here once a month, just to mill about smartly and sit with people, and if they got any questions, they can go over and ask them questions or whatever, and they can just take it from there, you know.
A cafe would not exist without...
Absolutely. I can look around me right now and see 8 or 9 of the best people I've ever been around. I mean, without these people right here, and especially this one right here. Yeah. I mean, you know, I've been with her for 51 years, but without, yeah, thanks a lot. Without these people, the cafe would not exist. When I first started, I thought maybe, 30 or 40 vets, I can handle that. I can do this coffee and stuff like that. Oh, no way. I couldn't handle a 30 or 40. I can't imagine what it would be like to handle 120. These people are, they're phenomenal, all of them. There is a vet that comes in here, Bill Mansell, you know Bill, from Edgewater, and first couple times he was in here, he kind of sat off to the side. I mean, one of his friends would bring him in, but and he was really withdrawn. Well, Bill is, I mean, I don't know what disease he actually has, but it's enough to put him in the nursing home, and he's come out of his shell. He talks to people. He likes, the highlight of his week is to come to this cafe. And it's because of these people right here, especially Judy. I mean, I think, if she didn't have Ray, she'd probably have Bill,
No, he's in a wheelchair, correct?
Yes, he is. My wife wants to tell one here.
When we were at the Lowell Center, before we moved over here to Crossfield Church, I was sitting down talking to one man. He was sitting by himself, and I went over there and talked to him. I talked to him for about a half an hour. And we just talked about this, that, and everything else. We just talked. And when Bill got home, he says, "You know that guy you were talking to?" And I says, "Yeah, but I don't remember his name." He said, "It doesn't matter." He said, "You know that you were the first person he would talk to. He had not talked to any of the veterans or anybody else, but when I sat down and just had a cup of coffee and with him and just talked, I was just the first person he would even talk to." So it's kind of nice that maybe that some of these guys live alone and so used to not having anybody to talk to, except probably the TV or whatever. But it felt good to know that I was a part of something or a part of him, his life that wanted him to talk to me. And why, I don't know, but that's not for me to question why. So, but that felt good to know that.
So there is a lot of help all the way around at this facility, because I know I've come quite a bit and I've seen people, like you say, come out of their shell. One individual, I said, why don't you come here? Well, we don't want to refight the war. I said, we don't refight the war here.
That's
No,
that's true. We have these every once in a while I'll see these people, these volunteers right here just sitting talking to guys, and guys I know that I was raised with and everything probably ain't smiled in 10 years, and they're all smiling. Well, pretty girl sits down by you, you're gonna smile anyway, What's the matter, Kathy? Anyway, the third week, I got one more story. The third week, I don't know if they moved away or what, but the third week that we were here, a guy brought in his nephew who had just come back from Iraq, and he said he was a very outgoing kid when he was in high school and all. I think he was from Vesper, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, but he'd been real withdrawn since he'd been back from Iraq. He come in, and he started talking to people, and next thing you know, he's there every week. And then just before Christmas, I haven't seen him since then, but I think they moved away. But he was there every week for a while.
So the cafe is open to all veterans, as you mentioned earlier, not just World War II, but the younger veterans. I've seen them at different tables, sitting with the World War II vets, the Korean vet.
Absolutely. It's great. I mean, you got service cliques. That's going to happen. You got the Army sitting over here, and the Navy sitting over here, and the Marines sitting over there, and then the Air Force sitting, but they intermingle a lot too. I always like to say one thing about this place. I know you're Army, Tom, but you know what a sea story is. A sea story always starts, Anyway, when they cross that threshold, the first liar don't stand a chance. Somebody's going to tell us a story, and somebody's going to embellish it and embellish it and embellish it. And that's what's wonderful about this. You can hear the same story 15 times, but a different hero with each one.
And what's interesting too is there's many, like you say, the different services, but the different ranks.
Oh yeah.
People. And rank is left at the door.
That's right. We had General Anderson in here, and he was talking to a couple of privates over here. I mean, it's something you're not going to get in a military establishment. It's just the camaraderie. We've all been through a lot of the same things. Maybe not together, maybe at different times, but we've all been through a lot of the same experiences.
Okay, you mentioned businesses earlier and service organizations helping out. If somebody was interested in helping, how would they?
All they got to do is get a hold of me. They can get a hold of me on every Wednesday right here, or they can call me anytime they want. My phone number is 262-496-3198. Anybody can call me. I'll be glad to explain to them what the Heroes Cafe does and how they can help. I got businesses. I mean, you wouldn't believe how generous the people are around here towards veterans organizations in particular. Pastor Dan came up to me and said, "Hey, if you ever need a bigger place, we got it over there." And at the time, of course, I didn't think I'd need a bigger place, but I just couldn't imagine right now going back to the Lowell Center at all, because that I can get 35 people in that room. Well, 35 people I can get in two tables over here, But anybody wants to help, they can get a hold of me anytime. They can get a hold of any one of these volunteers, and they'll get a hold of me. Okay, and you're always looking for more physical help as well. Absolutely. Especially, what I'd like to do? I'd like to get some of these kids from the high school involved, just to, on a volunteer basis. I got one right now, my next door neighbor, his son has volunteered, and told me if I ever need him, well, I need a dishwasher. I might just take him up on that.
Okay, so not everything is KP related.
No, 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 no. And not, absolutely not. Okay.
Living in Nakusa, you'd be surprised about how many people do not know about this Heroes Cafe. It's like Judy. Judy does the same thing. When she sees someone wearing a hat that says Vietnam or Desert Storm or whatever, she'll go up to them and talk to them and tell them about the Heroes Cafe. Well, I've started doing that too. There are so many people, even in Rapids, who don't know about it. I don't know how they don't know about it, but it just seems like maybe they think it's another military thing, but it's not. If they knew that it wasn't military connected, it's just people. It's just people, for a place for people to go and talk about anything you want. But it's so, it's just so many people that don't, so many veterans who do not know about this. I was talking to a lady in the grocery store one day. Her husband had a military hat, and I said, was he in the military? And she said, yeah. And it was a Piggly Wiggly, and it was telling her about the Heroes Cafe, and she said, oh, he won't go. I said, you get him and drag him. I told him where it was. I said, it's over at Crossview Church. You know where that is. It's between Cobb's and Shopko. And she said, well, he won't go anywhere without me. I said, well, then you put him in the car, you get behind the driver wheel, and you bring him. Because the wives of the veterans are also welcome, or the husbands of the veteran are also welcome. So just drag him and bring him. He said, I said, you can come too. So she thanked me, but I don't think I ever saw her again if I did, because I see so many people that I can't remember in my head if it was her or not. So.
Widows, wives, anybody that's veteran related is welcome. Your sponsors. I got a list of sponsors, about 60 of them, 70 of them. They can drop by anytime they want and see what their money is accomplishing. I mean, buying these donuts and just see. Well, Tom, I mean, we go to a VFW meeting. If we got 20 people, we're lucky. I'm getting 100 a week here because, it's a different atmosphere. For one thing, it's not as organized as a service organization, which is good because this way here they can do what they want. Just that I don't like politics in here because there's too much of that. That's all.
So it's just a friendly place to meet friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I've heard very many compliments about the facility here, how great it is, and the more people that are in here, just like you say, talking. I mean, and you talk about the stories. Yeah. I mean, we went from a bluegill to a major record-breaking muskie fish story here a couple of times.
Oh yeah. It's a bluegill that had to be put back. Yeah, it started out that small, but this is. It's been rewarding. I dread the day when I can't do this no more. But I'm also looking for somebody to take over because I want this to go on as long as it can,
And the interesting thing about it, these are all volunteers. There's no...
Well, I do pay them. I pay them. In fact, I doubled their pay last week. It went from 0 to 00. They didn't know it, though. That was supposed to have been a bonus.
And all the donuts they can eat.
Yes, yeah, that's right. All the donuts and coffee.
Okay, is there anything else that you want to talk about the Heroes Cafe, the history of it, how veterans and people can get involved in the...
I would like to point out some of my sponsors, if I could. I mean, without them, without these people, there wouldn't be a cafe. But them sponsors, I'm telling you, Grace's is... I can't say enough. Anybody here can talk about Grace's. They've been absolutely wonderful. Everything they do, they not only do they bring over, I mean, give us the breakfast, they bring it over even. So, I mean, it's, and they've contributed in other ways here as well. Ocean Spray provides all the juice that we use here. Caribou Coffee. There's a lady in town. She used to be a nurse at the school system. I forget her first name. What's her name? Kathleen Clark. She was a nurse at the school system. Her son, Mike Clark, lives and works up in Minneapolis. And Keith Eulig from the Tribune wrote an article about the cafe. And then he went to a meeting somewhere, and he ran into Mike Clark. And I got a call out of the blue from Mike Clark saying, hey, he says, I heard about your cafe, blah, blah, blah. He says, could you use 300 pounds of coffee? And I was kind of taken aback. I said, well, of course I can, but not all at once. He said, no, I'll ship it to you in 30-pound boxes. And Caribou Coffee has been supplying all the coffee that we drink here at the cafe ever since that time. Mike was here just the other day, and he delivered some coffee right here to the church. He's been phenomenal. I mean, that Caribou Coffee is probably, in my opinion, the best coffee on the market. But I'm afraid if they ever cut me off, I might have to close the cafe, give me and Donna a couple days to get out of town, because I think them guys, they'll start looking for me if I have to go back to Hills Brothers or Folgers or something like that. But everything is great. I mean, the support around here is, it's absolutely phenomenal. I've had Lori Brost, Lori Brost from the Southwood County Historical Society. Her and a bunch of friends of hers made soup one day in the wintertime. We had 8 different kinds of soup here, and it's just the 2 Medal of Honor recipients showing up. That was a highlight of everything as far as I'm concerned. Gary Wetzel came. We had probably 200 people that day, and 185 for Ken Stump. It's just great.
And you have that other Medal of Honor winner's daughter?
Yeah, no, well, his nephew, I believe it was. The daughter's son. I can't remember his first name. Red Cloud. The grandson of Red.
Mitch.
What was it?
Was it Mitch Red Cloud?
Yeah, Mitchell Red Cloud. That's right. I'm sorry, couldn't remember his first name. But they came here. I'm trying to get the daughter, and also, and Mary Ingman too. She's the daughter of Einar Ingman up out of Tomahawk. She's been here a couple of times. So, yeah. So all 4 of the Wisconsin Medal of Honor recipients, the last 4 that were living at the time, there's been a representative or themselves here. It's been great.
So you'd recommend this to every veteran, whether they're National Guard, full-time, retired, completed their service, reserves, to come here, law enforcement, retired, active duty, and
just stop by, see what we do. If you don't like doing it, I understand that. That's fine. But I think you'll like it. Just stop by and rub elbows with everybody and listen to a couple of sea stories, and maybe bring your own sea story in.
Is there anything else that anybody else would like to add to the conversation? Pastor Dan?
One thing, Tom, that came to my mind as this was going on, as I see it happening, is when we started this church, one of our hopes was to be a positive impact to the community and to the city of Wisconsin Rapids. And when Bill and his team came and started the Heroes Cafe at this location, it just flowed so much with what our desire as a church was to do, because this is making just such a positive impact for our community and our community veterans. When you come here and you see someone who is facing loneliness, but now they have a friend that they could come every week and have a conversation with, and it's making a huge difference. And sometimes it's those little things in life that make the biggest impacts: a conversation, a smile, a pat on the back, just someone to say, hey, you're not alone in this thing called life. And I think there's a lot of veterans that can feel alone really easily, and to be able to have another vet and people who care about vets come alongside them and say, you matter. And what an amazing mission that the Heroes Cafe is. And it's simple, but it's so impactful. And it's just, it's taught us a lot as a church, just to see that it's those little things to be faithful in that help make the greatest impact. And so we're just really thrilled, and I would just encourage anybody to come and support this cause and see it, and because it's a treasure to the community of Wisconsin Rapids in the area, and we're just really, really glad that they're here and doing this.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to say something?
I would like to say this is the most rewarding thing I've ever done of all the volunteer work I've done, and I love working with all these people. It's been so great. And I almost know 100 vets by name.
You know, I'm a Bolivian. I'm an American citizen. And I like to see all the veterans that were coming up here to socialize. And my heart goes out to see all those people coming, enjoying, and laughing. That's the only thing I say when I'm trying to be voluntary. Thank you.
One time we had a vet come in here. I mean, we've been here at Crossview for a while, and he showed up because he had not heard about this place at all. He had found out, I don't know how he had found out, I forget what he said, but he came in and he was feeling a little uncomfortable. So all of us girls, you know, would kind of make him feel comfortable in that home and had him sign in and grab a ticket for the drawing that we would have later on in that day. We got him sat down and asked him if he wanted coffee or donut or anything else like that. We waited on him and made him feel comfortable. And then when the drawing came up, he was the one that won the drawing. I said, well, you better come back. Maybe you'll win next time, too.
He's been here ever since.
He's been
yeah.
here ever since. So he was feeling uncomfortable being here. I said, you're among friends. All these are your friends. Everyone here is your friend. So he's been back ever since, and he felt uncomfortable talking with anyone, but now he fits right in. The spokes of all the wheel. He's one of the spokes.
I want to thank all of you for your service. It's important to have this place here. I've been coming quite often, whenever we can, and as you say, there's friends here. Whether it be World War II, Korea, Afghanistan, Cold War, whenever. Everybody mixes so well. It's phenomenal. Again, thank you for your service to the veterans, the firefighters, and law enforcement. And thank you very much for watching.